Hey guys, welcome to the Gospel According to Danny. We read through the Book of Mormon and make theories about what happened when and why and who did what and what they might have thought about it. And as always, I reserve the right to be wrong. I could be wrong about my theories, and if God says, hey, this isn't how it happened, I will be, yes, Lord. That makes, obviously it happened a different way. But I don't think I'm wrong about a few of these. And I think as long as we theorize that way, we're pretty safe to theorize about stuff. Anyways, we're going to get on to chapter 2. If you notice that I'm in the same stuff as last time, it's because it's been seconds. It might take me longer to edit this. But I promised myself that I was going to do more of these earlier in the week, so I'm just catching up and doing a few now. I might make a thing of this, batching videos, but who knows. So we are in chapter 2. Lehi has just prophesied to the people, and they have just heartily rejected him and are looking to likely kill him at this point. So it says, "For behold, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto my father, yea, even in a dream, and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Lehi, because of the things which thou hast done, and because thou hast been faithful, and declared unto the people the things which I commanded thee. Behold, they seek to take away thy life. And it came to pass that the Lord commanded my father, even in a dream, that he should take his family and depart into the wilderness. And it came to pass that he was obedient unto the word of the Lord. Wherefore he did as the Lord commanded him. And it came to pass that he departed into the wilderness, and he left his house and the land of his inheritance, and his gold, and his silver, and his precious things, and took nothing with him, save it were his family, and provisions, and tents. And he departed into the wilderness." Now this is fascinating to me. My gosh. First of all, just interesting tidbits, but also a great show of faith. Lehi was not a perfect father. And I think a lot of times it's difficult to look at historical characters, like heroes that we have, people that we put a lot of people on pedestals. We're like, how could I be like them? How could I be, whatever else. Lehi was very much an imperfect father. But because he had faults and because he had difficulties, it's no reason to discount the amazing things about him. People use this kind of thing a lot. Like they say, well, George Washington owned slaves and he only released them at the end of his life. It's like, yeah, but everyone owned slaves for the past, not everyone, but owning slaves was an acceptable thing for the past forever, for the past, 8,000 years at least, that we have solid written records of. Slaves were always a thing. Slaves were always a thing in different. It was always a risk that you would become a slave, and it was always possible that you could own a slave. And they're like, well, he owned slaves, and it's like, yeah, and he realized it was wrong, and he set them all free. And from what we hear, he treated them very well. But yeah, just because he didn't do everything perfect does not mean he was not an amazing man and one of the most amazing men that ever existed. We could nitpick anything we want, but who knows what people are going to find morally reprehensible that we're doing now. In the future. Doesn't mean we can't have heroes now. Doesn't mean we can't find those things that we're doing wrong and fix them, like George Washington did at the end of his life. Anyways, this is an interesting bit about Lehi. Lehi was loaded. Lehi had so much wealth. This is ridiculous. Guys, look at this for just a second. The part of the wilderness, his house, the land of his inheritance, so he owned a home, he owned land, his gold and his silver and his precious things, as he's got savings. By our standards, this guy is doing very well. Had I to guess, I would say probably a caravan owner of some sorts, because he packs up and gets tents and gets on the road really fast and seems to do very well with that. But I don't know for sure. All I know is whatever he did, he was very good at it. He was very loaded. And this is the faith of Lehi. Lehi realizes God says to move, and he says, I'm gone. I'm living in a tent. And that's just awesome to me. Okay, and it came to pass that and he came down by the borders near the shore of the Red Sea. Good Gandhi. And he traveled in the wilderness, in the borders which are nearer the Red Sea. And he did travel in the wilderness with his family, which consisted of my mother, Sariah, my elder brothers, who were Laman and Lemuel, and Sam. And it came to pass that when he had traveled 3 days in the wilderness, he pitched his tent in the valley by the side of the river, by the side of a river of water. And it came to pass that he built an altar of stones, and made an offering unto the Lord, and gave thanks unto the Lord. And it came to pass that he called the name of the river Laman, and it emptied into the Red Sea. And the valley was in the borders near the mouth thereof. And when my father saw that the waters of the river emptied into the fountain of the Red Sea, he spake unto Laman, saying, Oh, that thou mayest be like unto this river, continually running into the fountain of all righteousness. And he also spake unto Lemuel, Oh, that thou mayest be like unto this valley, firm and steadfast, immovable in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Now this he spake because of the stiffneckedness of Laman and Lemuel. For behold, they did murmur in many things against their father, because he was a visionary man, and had led them out of the land of Jerusalem, to leave the land of their inheritance, and their gold, and their silver, and their precious things, to perish in the wilderness. And this they said he had done because of the foolish imaginations of his heart. Now, guys, Laman and Lemuel get a bad rap here. In everyone's estimation, Laman and Lemuel get a very bad rap. And in a lot of points, I think they deserve it. They ended up doing terrible things. But at this point, this is a really hard thing. And this is, like, honestly, I get Laman and Lemuel more than I get Nephi at a lot of times. But Nephi is still awesome. He still did a lot of wonderful things. But Laman is the eldest. Lehi is rich. Guys, Laman stands to inherit all of those lands, that house, that wealth, all that gold. He's supposed to take care of the family with it, but he is going to be a big shot in Jerusalem. He is about to inherit he's about to be a huge deal. And Lehi is saying, no, we're leaving all of it, put that gold down, grab a tent, whatever else, we're going to live off the land and be in the wilderness. And Laman was not having any of it. For that reason. Now, Lemuel, this is interesting because Lehi seems acutely aware of this. Laman is the eldest, and he's stubborn. He doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to do the things that the Lord wants him to do. And Lehi says to him, he's like, he names the river Laman. He's like, I wish you were like this river. I wish you were continually pouring out to God. I wish you were continually moving towards God. God is standing there. He's waiting for you to come close. He's trying to be closer to you. I wish you would just get off your butt and move towards God, but you're so stubborn. And to Lemuel, now Laman and Lemuel are kind of a duo this whole time, and Lemuel follows along with what Laman does. And to Lemuel, he gives very different advice. He says, Lemuel, I would that you were like this valley. I would that you would stick to your guns for 10 gosh dang seconds and stop listening to your brother. I wish that you had an original thought in your head. I wish that you would just stand up for yourself, that you would be your own man, and that you would be righteous. You'd be steadfast in the Lord. You need to stay solid. Lemuel, you need to stay solid. Laman, you need to get moving. You need to get up and go towards the Lord. And, neither of them did these things, but, imperfect, but it shows that even if you do a lot of things right, you can have a very difficult family situation. And that just happens. That's just a thing that happens to us. And that's rough. And thus Laman and Lemuel, being the eldest, did murmur against their father, and they did murmur because they knew not the dealings of that God, or of that God who had created them. Neither did they believe that Jerusalem, that great city, could be destroyed according to the words of the prophets. And they were like unto the Jews who were at Jerusalem, who sought to take away the life of my father. And that's a rough condemnation of Laman and Lemuel. They were like the murderous Jews who wanted to kill Dad. That's what they were like. In fairness, it's difficult to raise the first kids and stuff, and they were raised in this society. It's not surprising that they carried over some traits there. And it came to pass that my father did speak unto them in the valley of Lemuel with power, being filled with the Spirit, until their frames did shake before him. And he did confound them, that they durst not utter against him. Wherefore they did as he commanded them. And my father dwelt in a tent. That's verses 15. They ask you to put a verse when you go to serve a mission down on your plaque thing. This is the one I put, because I just really like that. Lehi on a dime. He said, Lord, you want something from me? I'm on it. Granted, there was a possibility his life was in danger, but he still probably could have recovered from that. He has enough money to have, as long as he wasn't, continually preaching. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, being exceedingly young, nevertheless being large in stature, and also having great desires to know of the mysteries of God, wherefore I did cry unto God the Lord, and he did visit me, and did soften my heart, that I did believe the words which had been spoken by my father. Wherefore I did not rebel against him like unto my brothers. Now, I wonder how young Nephi was. He says exceedingly young, but large in stature. So he was a big guy, probably, getting big. We get the impression he was a very large individual, but exceedingly young. I wonder how young. Certainly not prepubescent, but could even be early teens. That's interesting. He's likely not writing this account now. This is likely a retrospective of his life. Actually, in the Americas, he's probably writing this. So he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord softened his heart, and he says, "And I spake unto Sam, making known unto him the things which the Lord had manifested unto me by his Holy Spirit. And it came to pass that he believed in my words. But behold, Laman and Lemuel would not hearken unto my words. And being grieved because of the hardness of their hearts, I cried unto the Lord for them. And it came to pass that the Lord spake unto me, saying, Blessed art thou, Nephi, because of thy faith. For thou hast sought me diligently with lowliness of heart. And inasmuch as ye shall keep my commandments, ye shall prosper, and shall be led to a land of promise, yea, even a land which I have prepared for you, yea, a land which is choice above all other lands. And inasmuch as thy brethren shall rebel against thee, they shall be cut off from the presence of the Lord. And inasmuch as thou shalt keep my commandments, thou shalt be made a ruler and a teacher of thy brethren. For behold, in the day that they shall rebel against me, I will curse them, even with a sore curse. And they shall have no more power over thee, except they shall rebel against me also. And it came to pass that and if it so be that they rebel against me, they shall be a scourge unto thy seed, to stir them up in the ways of remembrance. This is really interesting. So God obviously has a plan for Laman and Lemuel if if they decide to be righteous. He'll figure something out. But if they keep going down the path that they're on, they're designed to have posterity. It's interesting, we kind of have a duo. Lemuel is following Laman, Sam is following Nephi, and we have this split in the brothers. And what God essentially says is, if they keep going this way, I'm going to set them up as a scourge to thy people, to essentially humble them and keep them coming back to the truth, to righteousness, so they don't go to wickedness and destroy themselves entirely. Which we'll see a lot of examples of that exact thing happening as we go on. Just you stand by. That's the end of the chapter. But this is interesting because we're going to see there's a few opportunities that Laman and Lemuel could have had to leave. And again, leaving wouldn't have been any better for them. In fact, they likely would have been killed when the Babylonians attacked. But the Lord kind of tactfully cuts off those so they're just not options for the wayward brothers. We need later on the Lamanites to keep the Nephites from turning entirely wicked. So even the wicked have a place in God's plan. And yeah, that's chapter 2. Already a lot of good stuff. Nephi was young. I wonder if he was just maybe like socially awkward, didn't see that his brothers were having a rough time, and he was like, you guys should listen to Dad. And they were like, screw you, man. I'm having the worst time of my life, and you're jumping in now? Now you're jumping in? And he was like, and they were wicked and whatever else. It could have been that he was just, socially awkward, or I don't know. His brothers really, really hated him. Could be a mix of a hard time for them and not the most well socially timed things, or they could have just been absolute douchebags. That's a possibility. I don't know. Again, I really, really wish we had Mormons summarizing this section, but we don't. He is the best summarizer, the best historian, I think, that has ever lived. Anyways, that's it for today, guys.